Okay, I'm doing the 5 minute podcast, episode 2. Um, I'm just going to do it over lunch because the first episode was such a big success. So now we're going to keep going. So I got some good feedback on the last episode. I did a bit of a theme where I said you got to just go for it if you've got a dream or a goal or a passion or an interest, or maybe you just need to clean the garage. Just go for it. Just do it. You got nothing to lose. And I had some really interesting comments on the feed. Some people said that maybe I should do a podcast on time management or keeping my promises. I think that was Marty Hapka. Anyway, one person came on and said, "Hey, we've always wanted to do a podcast, and this has maybe inspired us to consider getting started." So I said, "What's keeping you from doing it?" And they said, "Well, actually, to be honest with you, it's a lot of the technical things like, do we have the right studio and do we have good enough mics? I'm not going to stare into the sun." And I said, "Okay, well, here's what I'll do. I'll do the most Bush League podcast. Like, I'll literally just grab the phone and press the button and stream for 5 minutes. And I'll be such an inspiration to you because anything that you do will be better than that." Um, and the point just being that I want to double down on this commitment to encourage people to do things and ignore all the barriers. And this is just pressing live on Facebook, but there are lots of things that just have really fraudulent barriers, and they keep us from doing what we want to do, maybe what we're good at. Anyway, so that's a bit of the feedback from the last video that I posted. I have 3 minutes left on this one. Here's what I want to talk about this week. And I'm on episode 2, and I still have no co-host. I have no guests, and I have no sponsors. So if anybody wants to sponsor me, although I did have somebody reach out and say that they would be a guest. So I think I could eventually have some guests on this thing. But here's what I want to talk about today. This thing that I'm going to not so affectionately coin social media sedation. And it's the second reason why I wanted to do this podcast, because I found myself being such a social media consumer. Remember when TikTok was like, it was like early on, it was this platform for watching dance videos, and then it became like, it just became the short version of looking at videos, like watching short form videos. And then universally, everybody agreed that TikTok was terrible and that, China made it and they were tracking you. And so we all, said, let's get off TikTok. And then we went over to Instagram Reels and, thinking we were doing, a, a more noble Americanized version of this. And it was TikTok all over again, Instagram Reels, and now Facebook is doing it. And of course, YouTube's doing it now too, short form videos. Anyway, I found myself, consuming videos and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and I thought, man, this is everyone who does it just realizes what a colossal waste of time, but you don't really know what the way is to get out. So I thought, okay, this could be my way out of social media sedation. And I call it that because I thought about this action of scrolling, and the thumb is scrolling. And it really reminded me of an IV machine. Like when you put a fluid into an IV, they put morphine into it or something. And it's interesting how IV machine works. I mean, I certainly am not a medical expert, but um, in order to not put the fluid through a pump, so the pump has to be clean and it's dirty, um, there's this little paddle that rotates around the hose, and it just sort of rubs against or rolls against the hose, little tube, and it pumps the liquid through. And I thought, man, isn't that similar to what we do when we scroll, up or down, whatever way? So I decided that what's really happening when we're scrolling through social media is that we are being sedated by social media. And And so that's where I coined this phrase. So I just thought this was the one I wanted to talk about today because it was the second reason that I was motivated to do this. And I posted a video on this similar topic at the beginning of 2020 when COVID first hit. I said, we have to find a way to be creators instead of consumers. I used to be really a much more creative person, and then I got really good at consuming social media content. And one of the not so obvious side effects of social media consumption is it strips you of your creativity slowly and subtly, and you're like, oh, I don't really have any of my own ideas, but I can share with you 1,000 different reels that I watched last week. So what do we do about this? Um, this is my solution. Maybe your solution is to do a bit of a countdown. So you say, look, I'm on. I'm gonna shut this off in the next 5 seconds. You count it down, and maybe it's the next minute, or maybe you say I'm only gonna do this for, I'm only gonna do this until my lunch is over. My solution is to turn yourself into a creator instead of a consumer, to break the cycle of social media sedation. Start to create. So that's part of the reason why I did this. So I challenge everybody to think about this. Put some comments in here. Give me some feedback. Tell me some of your own story about how you've defeated. I know it sounds silly. Listen, I'm sure all of us are out there thinking, listen, Derek, I don't have a social media addiction. I'm fine. I just enjoy it. It's my downtime. That's okay. The reality is lots of people are losing fantastic swaths of their life um, with this thumb paddle. So start creating and give me some solutions on what's working for you. Now, I see that I'm 2 minutes over on my 5-minute podcast. Give me some feedback. Let's hear some of the things that have worked to get you to stop consuming and start creating. And let's start making that shift. Now, I know people are going to say, wait a second, Derek, isn't this exactly what you're doing? You're creating content on social media so people can swipe it. Look, mine is longer format. I'm 5 to 7 minutes. Um, and hopefully it's engaging and encourages conversation and development. So episode 2, 5-minute podcast, you saw it. Give me some comments. We'll see you next Monday. I think I'm going to try to do this over lunch. I'm going to try to make it happen around 12 o'clock. Have a great week.